All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Cattle Chat for March the 19th. My name is Sean Kabak with Manitoba Ag, Food and Rural Development out of the Portage office, and I will be today's chair. We're glad you could make it. With calving season in full swing for many producers and winding down for others, cows are in their most important nutritional period. Not only do they have to produce milk for their calf, but they have to get ready for rebreeding. For cows to rebreed on time and produce a live, healthy calf every year, they require adequate protein, energy, vitamins, and minerals. To talk about the importance of pre-breeding mineral supplementation, we have Kathleen Walsh out of the Manitoba Ag Food and Rural Development Office in Swan River. So Kathleen, it's all yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Sean said, my name is Kathleen Walsh, and I'm based out of the Swan River office as a livestock advisor. Today I'm going to talk to you about minerals and the importance of rebreeding mineral supplementation and the effect it has on conception rates in calving interval. There are 17 minerals that are essential in the diet. These minerals are broken down into macro and micro minerals. Macro minerals are required in larger amounts and are usually measured in grams per kg. Micro minerals are required in smaller amounts and measured in milligrams per kg. These minerals are all essential for body function and performance and need to be supplemented in the diet. But it's not enough to just have them in the diet. They need to be present in the right amounts and in the right ratios. We need to keep in mind that minerals interact with each other, and overfeeding some minerals can cause a deficiency of others. We're going to discuss individual minerals a little later on, but what I want you to keep in mind is that your mineral requirements will differ based on your area and what you are feeding. And one mineral package generally doesn't tend to suit everybody. What we're going to look at first is macro mineral requirements. What I'd really like to emphasize on this slide is the increase in mineral requirements as we move from a gestating cow to a lactating cow. So you can see it here in these two columns. Calcium and phosphorus are the most abundant minerals in the body, and it is essential that the levels of calcium and phosphorus in the diet be balanced. Because minerals interact, if we have too much calcium in the diet, we have a decreased absorption of phosphorus, and the same as if we have too much phosphorus, we have a decrease in absorption of calcium. So we need to have the ratios right, especially before calving, through lactating and into rebreeding. If we have a calcium imbalance before calving, lots of times we can see a cow go down and getting milk fever. So it's really something we want to avoid. A phosphorus deficiency is characterized by poor reproductive performance. And if phosphorus isn't supplemented at the right levels, we will see irregular heat cycles and reduced fertility. And the chart at the bottom really emphasizes that. We can see a 24% decrease in calf crop weaned when we compare a diet with no phosphorus to a diet supplemented with phosphorus. So you know that's really going to affect your bottom line. And also there's a difference of 94 days in the average calving interval when you go from no phosphorus to phosphorus supplemented. Next we're going to talk about microminerals. We also call them trace minerals. This chart is just to show the minimum requirements of trace minerals in the diet. I wish I did, but I won't have time to discuss them all today. So I'm just going to focus on copper and selenium. But what I really need to emphasize here is that trace mineral levels vary greatly throughout the province, and the only way to accurately meet your herd requirements is to feed test. You're probably going to hear me say the word feed test a lot throughout the rest of the presentation. So copper, molybdenum, and iron. Some areas of the province are high in molybdenum. Molybdenum binds copper, so we often see copper deficiencies in these areas. Not only that, but copper is essential for iron metabolism, so we also have an iron deficiency as a result. It's kind of just like a chain reaction, really. One of the effects of a copper deficiency is a reduction in reproductive performance in cows. And we need to be sure that we're supplementing at the right levels during our critical period, which is really 8 weeks before calving right through to rebreeding. Then we're going to look a little bit at selenium. Some areas of the province have sufficient levels of selenium and others are deficient. There isn't a big range between deficient and toxic levels of selenium. The minimum requirement is 0.2 milligrams per kg and the maximum tolerable level is 2 milligrams per kg. So it's for that reason that we have to be careful not to over-supplement. So like I said, the only way to do that is to have a feed test and know what's in your feed. In a deficiency situation, we do see negative effects on reproduction. We'll often see an increase in incidences of retained placentas or cow nut cleaning. And this has a negative effect on rebreeding down the road. Cows that don't clean quickly or properly will often have a decreased first service conception rate and longer open intervals, and that's really what we want to avoid. So like I said, feed testing, this must be like the 4th time that I mentioned it now. It's important and it's something we need to be doing. A complete mineral package test costs $28 and it's money well spent. If you've never done one before, I'd really recommend talking to your local MAPRE office and doing one. So then the different types of minerals. The first thing we base our mineral selection off is calcium and phosphorus levels. The most commonly used mineral is a 1-to-1 mineral, which is used with legume grass mixed forages. We also use 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 minerals. These are required if you're feeding high grain, green feed, or straw-based rations. And in some cases, there might not be enough calcium present and you might need to use limestone to up your calcium levels even more. If you're not sure what mineral you should be using on your farm, feel free to talk to myself or to any of your local reps, and they'd be happy to help you out. Next thing we have to look at when we're selecting a mineral is bioavailability. There are 2 forms of minerals. There's the inorganic and the organic. Inorganic minerals have lower availability levels, but there's also different types of inorganic minerals and they have different absorption levels also. So sulfates and chlorides have equal availability. Their availability is greater than the availability of carbonates, which has better absorption levels than oxides. The exception to this rule is magnesium oxide, which does have good absorption. Then we have organic minerals. An organic mineral is a mineral that's combined with an amino acid or a protein. They're more available than the inorganic minerals, but they're also more expensive. We usually, if we recommend using an organic-based mineral, it's usually 2 months before calving and through to rebreeding, but not everyone will need to use an organic mineral package. So that's where it leads back to feed testing and knowing what you need, and then purchasing accordingly. To know what kind of minerals are in your mineral package, the best thing to do is just check your feed tag. And if it's not on there, then talk to your local feed rep and get an ingredients list. That was very short and sweet. and just kind of touched on the importance of minerals. If you have any more questions or would like to discuss it further or need help with selecting a mineral, feel free to call myself. My contact information is there. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Kathleen. Individuals can type questions in on their screen. One question I have related to chelates. If the mineral consumption is good or adequate, if it's a couple ounces per head per day, do you think we need to supply chelated minerals?
It all depends. It depends on what's in your mineral and your mineral availability in your area. In our area up here in Swan River, we have very high molybdenum levels, so we are deficient in copper. So even if we do have good intake, there still might not be enough copper in the mineral package, and that's where a chelate would work well. Or even supplementing with a TM salt instead of just a blue salt. But yeah, chelates are expensive, so we really only want to use them when we need to use them.
Kathleen, Lionel here. I have a question for you. I get comments from producers quite a bit of the time saying that when they're feeding minerals that the cattle are eating it like crazy and they're not stopping, and they're getting to the point where they want to start limiting the amount they give. Is that a wise option, or I know you always tell them that they're eventually going to slow down, but for some of them it seems like they just continually want to eat it.
Yeah, we do run into that problem, and lots of times when we see that is in the fall too, right, Lionel, when cows just really seem to need mineral. And often they do slow down. If they are over-consuming, then we can look at cutting them back, but not on the long term, and we need to look at every farmer situation separately. There isn't really a general rule for it. The best way to supplement a mineral is either mixed with grain or a pellet, so we know exactly what we're giving them, or putting it in a TM mix. So we can really control what we're giving them, and they're not under-consuming or over-consuming. Just feeding free choice can, it's kind of a shot in the dark for consumption or feed intake by the cows.
Just a comment, another way, I guess, of encouraging the cattle to eat the mineral is if you do have good salt consumption, is to mix mineral with the salt as well, 50-50 or on a different ratio.
Yeah, exactly, Sean. Lots of times cows won't want to eat the mineral, and it can be for palatability issues, but they always seem to go after that salt. So if you are having issues getting it into them, mixing it with salt is a really good idea.
Do you find much palatability differences between different types of mineral?
Yes, we do. I guess I won't really comment on the specific minerals, but there are some minerals that they seem to prefer to eating than others.
Well, I know some personally too. When you open the bag, they just smell sweeter or fresher or whatever it is. Whether it's a bit of molasses in there, or some sort of ingredient that smells better to me. Whether it makes a difference to the cow or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. I have found even feeding on our own farm that they will prefer some minerals to others.
Okay, I don't think there are any other questions. Lionel, is there?
No, we're good right now, Sean.
So our next presentation will be given by Tim Clarke, and with the upcoming bull sales that producers will be attending, bulls represent 50% of the genetics of the next calf crop and are one of the best ways of improving your herd's genomics. So selecting your herd sire is an important decision. So one of the tools you can use is EPDs, and Tim Clarke works out of the Ashern office for Manitoba Ag, and he's going to tell us more about interpreting EPDs or expected progeny differences. We're just going to get his presentation here. Hold up. It's all yours, Tim.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, welcome and greetings from Ashern. My name is Tim Clarke, as Sean mentioned. And today I'm going to present information on EPDs. So what are EPDs? It's an acronym for the term expected progeny difference. So it's a tool that's used for selection of genetics for the purpose of herd improvement. When we go to bull sale and we look over the bulls and we eyeball them and decide, well, I like that bull or I like that bull, that's considered to be visual selection or the phenotype of the bull. And when we do our selection for genetics solely based on phenotype, then the improvement in our genetics is generally slower, and we can improve our genetics in our herd more rapidly using genotyping, and an example today that we're talking about is expected progeny differences. So EPDs are generated from submissions of data from producers. So they're usually purebred producers who are submitting their data on things like birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weights, and in some cases ultrasound data. And when an animal is harvested, then carcass data can also be submitted to provide EPDs on an animal. And the number of years in the herd that the animal has been in the herd can also be included. And so that can give us a read on the longevity or the potential longevity of that animal within a herd. So what is an EPD? EPDs can tell you how the offspring of an animal will compare genetically to an average group of animals of the same breed. So it predicts the difference in performance, not the actual performance of that animal within the breed. So performance is a function of both the animal's inherent genetics, which we can try and predict using EPDs, and the interaction of that animal in the environment that they're in. So how high a quality of feed we're feeding, is there enough energy in the diet, protein in the diet, is there adequate mineral supplementation, as Kathleen talked about, and things like the weather. If it's minus 25, you're going to have to feed more energy than if it's plus 5. Pasture conditions, soil conditions, particularly in a feedlot situation on feeder cattle. If the cattle are up to their bellies in mud, then they're going to gain more poorly than if they're on firm ground. And water quality also has a bearing on an animal's performance. So what can EPDs do? They can compare two animals, male or female, of the same breed in terms of their genetic merit for that trait. And as mentioned, the actual measurement is a factor that's controlled by factors such as management, feed, genetics. So the EPDs predict the differences we would expect to see in their progeny specifically due to genetics. So you can use EPDs as a tool to increase, decrease, or maintain any trait for which they are calculated. So we may want to decrease birth weights on our calves while increasing weaning weight and yearling weight, and EPDs can help us to predict that. It's important to note that EPDs are only one tool in the toolbox. First, you should decide on which breed would be the most benefit to your operation for the type of cattle that you currently have, and then choose those animals within that particular breed that are physically and reproductively sound. I cannot overemphasize reproductively sound because fertility is the #1 most important economic trait in a beef cow-calf operation. So what can EPDs not do? They cannot directly compare animals that are from different breeds. There is calculations that can be done that can compare animals between breeds, but they're fairly complex calculations, and they need to be done for each trait, of course. So they cannot predict outcomes. So for example, a plus 40 weaning weight EPD does not mean that an additional 40 pounds will be added to the weaning weight of your calves. And also an EPD of 0 does not necessarily mean that the individual's average for the breed for that trait. So EPDs were started in a particular year for the Angus breed that all of them were started at 0 in 1997. And the average for the breed in 2014 is published. And so we can compare an individual animal's EPDs to the breed average to give us an idea of what type of progeny that animal is likely to bring us if we use him. It's important to note that EPDs are not constant. As more information is obtained from an animal, the EPD may change, and it probably will change. However, as more data is compiled on that animal, as that animal has more offspring and more birth weight, weaning weight, yearling weight type information is submitted, the accuracy of the EPD goes up, and that's very important in the selection of EPDs. And EPDs do not make up for poor management. Calves sired by a bull with a lower EPD for weaning weight can wean heavier calves than a bull with a higher weaning weight EPD if they are exposed to a more favorable environment, i.e. bred to heavier milking cows or on a higher nutritional program. So here is a bull photo of an ad from Semen Catalog. And I'll start off by just pointing out, so this is the birth weight of this bull according to the breeders who raised this bull. This is the adjusted weaning weight. So this is a weight that's adjusted to reflect what they think this bull would have weighed at 205 days of age. So if this bull was weighed with his contemporaries at 200 days of age and weighed 800 pounds, then this has been adjusted up to reflect what they think he would have weighed at exactly 205 days of age. The index is how that bull compared to his contemporaries within the group of bulls that he was raised with. So he was slightly above average at weaning weight. This is adjusted weaning weight, so this is adjusted to reflect his weight at exactly 365 days of age. And this is a weaning index to reflect how he compared to his contemporaries at exactly a year of age. Average daily gain, 3.59 pounds. That's how much this bull gained from birth weight to a year of age and how he indexed relative to his contemporaries in average daily gain. Down here we see is a pedigree. So this is the name of the sire to this bull that we see in the photograph, and this is the dangle tag number. So this bull in the photograph was born in 97, and we see by the year letter that this bull's sire was born in 1992. This is the name of the paternal grandsire, the paternal granddam. This is the name of the cow, and the year letter would be she's born in 93. The paternal or the maternal grandsire and the maternal granddam. So that's how we read a pedigree. Over here we see what the mature weight of this bull was and his hip height when he's mature. And so here we see a number called a frame score. And what a frame score number is, it's a number that reflects the animal's hip height and it's adjusted for his age. So as he grows older, of course, the hip gets taller to a point. And so this bull is a frame score 6.5.
Did you lose Tim?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but we lost your
here.
screen.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Tim. It's just we lost your screen.
Maybe my internet connection isn't working right.
Just a comment on that bull. You didn't stretch him out for the presentation, did you?
I didn't. I got this ad from Linda Fox.
He looks really long.
He does look long. And if you look at the birth weight EPD, he's plus 3.1, and the breed average is plus 1.3. So he is a heavier birth weight bull than the breed average. So he's in the bottom 25% for the breed for birth weight. Whereas for calving ease, he's just about neutral or at the breed average. So can you see the screen now, or?
Tim, did you get another icon on your screen saying show my screen?
Not just now, no.
No? Okay, just give me a sec here.
Sure.
Something else, you had mentioned those EPDs were adjusted and it showed that it was an AWW, so adjusted weaning weights. Sometimes you get sale catalogs and the EPDs will be adjusted, but there's no mention that they're adjusted EPDs. So I'm not sure, is that standard or?
No, these are his actual, these are not EPDs where it says AWW 815. That's not an EPD, that's just his data.
Oh, okay, that was his actual weaning weights.
Well, no, this is adjusted, so it's adjusted. Okay, here, I got the icon. So now, can you see my screen again, or?
Yeah, we got it back.
Okay. Okay, I guess we're back in business. So this data is not, these aren't EPD data. I was just commenting about what this data is and trying to explain what it is. The EPDs are here. Okay? And, okay, so I was just talking about frame score. So a frame score bull, this is a frame score bull 6.5, and we see he weighs 2,450 pounds at maturity. For example, a frame score bull that is 4.5, 4.5, at maturity would weigh about 1,700 pounds plus or minus 150 pounds, depending on his level of muscle expression and his body condition score. So if he was really fleshy at the point when you weighed him, then he could weigh as much as, say, 1,850 or 1,900 pounds, a frame score 4.5 bull. Frame score 7.5 bull, mature, would weigh around 2,800 pounds plus or minus 200 pounds, depending on, again, body condition score and level of muscle expression. Okay, I will click on to the next slide. Oh, here we go. So this is the EPDs for that last bull. Just I have to make them bigger because I can see them easier. So as I mentioned, so this bull has birth weight EPD of plus 3.1 pounds, and at the time that this EPD was generated, the average for the Angus breed was plus 1.3. Okay, so on average, this bull would throw calves that are, you know, about 2.5 pounds or 2.8 pounds heavier than the breed average. 1.8, pardon me. So he's heavier than the average for birth weight, and here we see the accuracy. So accuracy is a number that tells us how accurate the EPD number is. So it's a number between 0 and 1, and so 0.52 tells me that this number is about 50. This number here is about 52% accurate, and the accuracies of the bull can increase as he has more offspring whose data has been submitted to the breed association. So at the time of printing, this bull had 15 progeny or offspring from 5 different herds. So 5 different herds had likely used the semen off of this bull and had 15 animals that they had submitted birth weight and weaning weight data to the Canadian Angus Association, and that's how these numbers are generated. So here we see he has a weaning weight EPD of plus 36. Breed average is about 15, so he's far greater than the breed average for weaning weight. He's in the top 4% for the breed for weaning weight EPD, and yearling weight EPD, he's very strong at 66 versus the breed average of 24, so he's in the top 3% of the breed for weaning weight EPD. And as well, we see the milk is plus 12. He's in the top 10%. Birth weight EPDs are expressed in pounds, and birth weight EPD is the single most important factor contributing to calving difficulty. So we have 2 bulls, one with a birth weight EPD of minus 2.5 pounds, one with plus 2.5 pounds. The difference of 5 could translate into less calving difficulties. Weaning weight and yearling weight EPDs are expressed at 205 and 365 days of age, expressed in pounds. And because heavier calves at the auction mart generally return more dollars, we can look at these traits or EPDs to try and improve the traits within our commercial herds. So here, for example, we have bulls with Bull A has a weaning weight EPD of plus 15 and a yearling weight of plus 30. Bull B has a weaning weight EPD of 5, yearling of 10, so the difference is 10 pounds. So we would expect Bull A's calves to wean on average 10-pound heavier calves at weaning and 20 pounds heavier calves at yearling weights. And this is strictly due to the genetics, and it doesn't have any, it excludes the mother's milking ability, and as I mentioned earlier, the environment, which includes the type of feed being fed to the animals. Milk EPDs is expressed as additional pounds of weaning weight on calves from daughters of that bull due to the gene expression for milk production. A dam's milk EPD indicates the added pounds of calf weaning weight from their daughters. So for example, milk EPD of Bull A plus 5, Bull B minus 5, the difference is 10 pounds. So we would expect daughters from Bull A to wean calves that are 10 pounds heavier at weaning than calves from daughters of Bull B. So it's important to note that this is weaning weight increase, not pounds of milk production by the cow. There's another EPD called total maternal, which combines the weaning weight EPD and the milk EPD to predict the total weaning weight differences of the calves. So it predicts total weaning weight EPD due to the genes for milk expression and growth, and they calculate it by adding an animal's milk EPD plus half of the animal's weaning weight EPD. And it can be useful because neither the EPD for weaning weight or milk entirely predict weaning performance. There's other EPDs such as stayability or production longevity, and it predicts a genetic difference in the likelihood that daughters of an animal will remain in production until 6 years of age or beyond. So if we have less cull cows, then generally we have more profitability if we're raising our own heifers. So in this example, it's reported as percentage of the EPD is reported as percentage of daughters to remain in the herd after 6 years of age. So we see Bull A's plus 15%, Bull B's plus 5%. So we would expect daughters of Bull A to be productive in the herd for a longer period of time by about 10%. There's other EPDs such as calving ease. However, little genetic progress can be made on selecting directly for calving ease, and there's a low heritability. It's expressed as percentage of unassisted births. However, different breeds report calving ease in different ways. So it's a little suspect as to how accurate some of these are for some of the breeds. Carcass EPDs, of course, has to be taken on an animal that's been harvested. So ribeye EPD is a measurement of genetic muscularity, or the difference in muscularity, and it's expressed in units of square inches of the ribeye area. Marbling is an evaluation of the intramuscular fat, an indication of palatability in high marbling animals. As well, high marbling animals tend to be easier keeping, and it's expressed as a numerical degree of marbling or marbling score. Interpreting EPDs. So if you're comparing between breeds, you must use a formula so that you're comparing apples to apples. So generally it's not easy to compare between breeds on EPDs. I cannot underscore the importance of accuracy in EPDs. So the accuracy is a measure of the reliability associated with an EPD, and as I mentioned, it's a number between 0 and 1. A high value indicates high reliability, and that would be from an animal that would be an older animal that has more offspring. And the EPD can change. as time goes on, and so can the accuracy. The accuracy will generally always go up. So low reliability is considered less than 0.65 or 65% accurate. Medium reliability, 0.65 to 0.75, and high reliability, 0.76 or more. So using EPDs as a selection tool, I want to caution against using single trait selection. If we just select for yearling weight, you may increase calving difficulties, and we should select for other traits as well to consider conception rates, calf mortality, calving intervals, bull, libido, etc. So here's a sample sire evaluation summary. We have 4 bulls here, and we see that the accuracies are fairly high on most of them. So this tells me that the repeatability of this EPD is fairly high if it's over 0.75. Here's one that's a little on the low side, and here's another one that's a little bit on the low side. But otherwise, most of these are fairly high accuracies. So the likelihood of that trait being passed along at that level is quite high. So producer 1 is looking for a sire that can be used on heifers. He wants a bull that will produce low birth weights, and he wants to keep some heifer calves as replacements. Growth performance is not his first priority. The sire that fits his needs is sire D. He has a low birth weight EPD, right here, and above average milk EPD. So we compare this number to the breed average, which for at the time for Angus was +6. So this one is better than the breed average for milk EPD and better than the breed average for birth weight EPD. Producer 2 has a sound breeding program. He's looking for a sire that will maintain performance and milking ability. He will select a bull that will increase growth performance and milk while maintaining calving ease. Sire B is his choice. So this is probably fairly close to the breed average for birth weight EPD, highly accurate, and it's right around the breed average at the time for the milk EPD. So producer 3 has a herd of above average frame cows. So he has fairly large cows, and he's not planning on keeping heifers as replacements. He's looking for a bull, or she is looking for a bull that will give her the most profit at weaning. Sire A will give her the best results at weaning weight. If heifers are kept as replacements, they will be on average inferior for maternal milk. So here we see a big birth weight EPD, very strong large weaning weight EPD, strong yearling weight EPD, but it's negative for milk. This is common in performance bulls because generally speaking, milk and growth are inversely related. If we find a bull that has it all, so to speak, it has good milk EPDs and strong growth EPDs and low birth weight EPDs, then oftentimes those AI sires are referred to as curve benders. Producer 4 wants to maintain his calving performance and growth performance, but would like to increase the milking ability in his females. So sire C is his choice. So it's near the breed average for birth weight EPD and quite strong on milk EPD. So using EPDs as a selection tool, first we need to identify the goals in your breeding program, decide which EPDs are important to your program, and select the best animals in your group and rank according to EPDs, but also select on secondary traits like temperament, structure, body condition score. I would recommend being very wary of low accuracy EPDs. It generally means that there's very few offspring off that animal, and the EPD could change a lot over the course of time. So that's all I had to say today, and I will turn it back to Sean.
Sean, are you there? Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Just unmuting.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you, Tim and Kathleen, for your presentations. Any questions for Tim?
Well, if not, my contact information is there, and there's different people within the department that can help producers with bull selection and EPDs.
I guess back to one of my questions before, and it was on the weaning weights and yearling weights, where some of the sale catalogs don't show them as adjusted, but they are an adjusted weaning and yearling weight. What do you find is most common?
Well, like if a purebred producer weighs his calves at weaning but doesn't submit the data to the breed association, then it's probably not going to be adjusted, because it has to be adjusted for exactly 205-day weight. And you know, he may put actual weaning weight instead of adjusted. So the important thing is to compare that bull within his contemporaries. So, because if they were all weaned the same day and weighed the same day, then you can compare amongst that group of bulls, for example, if you're at a bull sale to buy.
Do you find a lot of producers using EPDs regularly?
Yeah, quite a few producers. They look at them, and they also look at the bull and eyeball the bull. You know, they may have one trait that they really feel strongly that they want to, you know, improve on, and some of the traits are less critical to them. Like, you know, for example, guys that are interested in weaning really heavy calves, they look at weaning weight EPDs. And if they have big cows, they don't worry too much about birth weight EPDs. Whereas somebody who's, you know, whose cows don't milk enough, he'll probably look at the milk EPD and make a bull selection based upon that being an important trait.
Just going to see if we have any questions that have been typed in.
Nothing right now, Sean.
Okay.
Or wait a second here.
I do see one.
Yeah, Ron, would you agree that EPDs are somewhat biased in that producers typically don't report records from their bottom end calves?
Well, as far as I know, all the breed associations, if you register an animal, they want a birth. If you register it, you have to register all your animals. You're not supposed to not register some of your animals. So if you register them all, then you're generating EPDs from them all. But they can't force you to do it. I mean, there is an option for somebody to not register a purebred animal if they don't want to have papers on it. But if it's registered, then they ask for some data from that animal, and then EPDs can be generated.
And there's no more questions that have been typed in.
Okay.
So we'll continue on. I have a little bit on extending the winter feed supplies, and I don't have a presentation, but Manitoba Agriculture has been getting some questions on stretching the forage supplies through to spring, and the need to plan ahead to ensure feed available is critical. So with the long and extremely cold winter we have been experiencing, cattle have consumed more feed than normal, and this has cut into the precious feed supplies. Add the threat of a late spring and the likely possibility grazing will be delayed. Beef producers need to take inventory of their feed supplies. So if they're getting low, what options do you have to ensure your livestock will be properly fed until the grass is green? So the first step is to take inventory of your feed supplies. Do you have enough feed on hand to last until the end of May or early June when the cattle will normally go to grass? Cattle on average consume 2.5% of their body weight in feed per day on a dry matter basis, and up to 3% under cold conditions. This means that a 1,400-pound cow would have to be fed 46 to 48 pounds of hay per day when taking into account a 10% waste factor. Under extremely cold conditions, cattle will require an additional 15 to 20% more feed. So that's why a lot of producers will have seen their feed supplies shrink a lot quicker this winter than other years when we saw 3 months, December, January, and February, that were well below normal in some of the coldest months that we've seen since records have been started to be kept. So after taking an inventory and you find out you are short of feed, what are your options? You can, one, either purchase more feed if it's available, consider alternatives to what you normally would feed, including straw, screenings, grains, or byproducts. The great part of feeding cattle is they can be fed a wide variety of hay, silage, straw, grains, green feed, and more, as long as the ration is properly balanced. And that's the key, is to properly balance the ration. And just like Kathleen mentioned, feed testing is crucial. 2, you can sell livestock. Selling livestock when markets are red hot is always a good decision, especially if your feed supplies are low. Cull the cow herd hard and heavy, or sell the feeders earlier than you would otherwise. Maybe this isn't the year you keep back those extra replacement heifers, even if they are the nicest ones you've had in a number of years. And doing nothing is not an option. So utilizing lower quality forages or a combination of grain and straw is one option when considering alternatives to hay. When supplementing with straw, rumen compaction may occur if straw is fed alone, if there's not a readily available energy or protein source for the rumen microbes. Producers should also keep in mind that in the last trimester of pregnancy, a cow's nutrient requirements increase significantly, and then they are the highest after calving. Therefore, it's important to provide the higher quality feed, either in the form of good quality hay or increase the protein and energy supplementation. Roughages such as straw do not contain sufficient levels of nutrients, but in combination with grains, byproducts, protein supplements, or mineral and vitamin premixes, the demands of the livestock can be met. So it's critical to supply all the nutrients the animals need in order for them to maintain good health, body condition, high reproductive rates, and desirable weaning weights. So some other options to increase energy and protein in the ration is ammoniation of straw, which will increase your protein up to 7 or 8% in straw and cost, but the cost is getting to be prohibitive at $20 to $25 per bale. Liquid molasses is another option that producers use to increase consumption, and the current cost is around $9 per bale. So we've received questions about feeding different alternatives, whether it's hemp screenings, peas, oat, hulls, potatoes, or screenings. So these will all work in beef cow rations, but they need to be formulated correctly. And you can visit your Manitoba Agriculture office to have your ration properly balanced. Also, if you're short of hay or straw or needing extra feed, you can go on to Manitoba Agriculture's website and see what's available on there. So if you're facing a feed shortage, consider your options and start making a plan now. If you need assistance, don't hesitate to contact someone for help, and whether that's with the province of Manitoba, friends, neighbors, someone that might have feed available. So are there any questions on extending feed supplies?
I don't have any right now, Sean.
That have been submitted. So with that, I guess we'll draw this webinar to a close. Thank you to Kathleen and Tim for making themselves available. Thank you for Lionel for his help. Thank you to the producers for sitting in, and have a safe and prosperous calving season.